Hola, soy Javier Espinosa y bienvenidos a esta cobertura de la edición número 65 del Festival Internacional de Cine de San Francisco. En esta ocasión les traigo una entrevista con la directora Mary Curran y la protagonista Jeannette Feliciano del documental en competencia Jeannette. Espero que la disfruten.
Well, Jeannette and I met. I was doing a anti-discrimination campaign in the wake of the Pulse nightclub shooting, and it was a documentary that was where Jeannette was already cast on a campaign against hate that's called Love is Love. And Jeannette, we had been speaking, and then we had some time set aside to speak on the phone to talk about the production, and it was just a one-day shoot. And of course, as is too often happens, there had been a mass shooting the day before. And so I said to Jeannette, you know, we don't have to talk about production, we don't have to talk at all, but if you want, let's create space to actually just have a conversation. And we did, and we talked for 2 hours. And I think that it was the first moment where we really connected and kind of that I was able to make room for Jeannette and for the emotions that came up, and it felt, we really clicked. And then a week later, I was in Orlando and shooting, and I think that when we first met, we saw something of ourselves in one another. We're both very different and exactly the same in a place of us. I think that we, prior to Pulse, both of us had experienced violence, physical and sexual violence, and have spent a lot of our kind of adult lives trying to figure out ways both to heal ourselves and to fight against violence in society. And Jeannette as a trainer, as a bodybuilder, as a mother, as somebody who is inspirational in the community, and me through filmmaking and my art and also my community. And so this really, it was a very kind of collaborative process throughout, but especially in the beginning, I called Jeannette after we shot for a day, like a week later, and said, how did that go for you? Did it feel like there's the seed of something more? And Jeannette said, yeah, I think so. And so we kind of basically, grabbed hands and jumped off this cliff to work on this project that I think is so much about healing, as you said.
Well, primeramente te quiero dar las gracias por coger todo este tiempo para hablar y todo eso. Te lo voy a decir ahora mismo que el español mío no es tan bueno, pero puedo entender y todo eso. So, si yo invento palabras, ya tú sabes que nací en Puerto Rico, pero me crié en New York.
No, pero bailas con Gilberto Santa Rosa.
Ok. Pero
Y podemos hacerlo en inglés también, Jeannette. Vamos a hacerlo en inglés.
So, the film, when I had did the commercial for the Love Has No Labels campaign, and when me and Maris met, I'm thinking, who is this white woman? Why does she want to know about my life? And does she know my life? Does she understand my life? But just exactly like she said, we got to know each other, though we come from two totally different backgrounds. We were different when we look at each other, right? But we were very much the same. And, when she, was talking about documentary, I'm like, well, what is it about my life? I understand that I went through Pulse. But I tell everyone this, that we all have a documentary inside of us, what we live every day, right? And I just knew that if we were to bring something out there, which I didn't know what we were gonna bring out there, I just knew that I wanted to be my authentic self. I just wanted to be real and be raw and tell people, how it is and what I go through. So, it was as if I had to put my trust and confidence in a woman that I didn't know for years. I just met. So it was a little scary, but I don't know, something told me that I was ready for it. There was a connection that I couldn't explain at that very moment, and we moved forward with it. Yeah, no, it was as raw as it can be. There's no limits. I mean, look at my vocabulary. I'm in there like 1 minute I can cry, the next I'm like, nice one, very right. So there's so many aspects of me, and I'm a mother. At that time I was going through a breakup. Yo soy una hija, ¿verdad? You see, in one moment, me and mommy getting into it. That's hard. I grew up, I never spoke back to my mother my entire life, ever. Like, we're raised a certain way. So there's that. And there was a sense of, oh my gosh, I got into an argument with mommy, and it was as if the film camera wasn't there, but it was real. It was raw. It was a situation, so I didn't know what was going to come of the film. I didn't know, but, Jeannette, it's titled Jeannette, and that's exactly who you got, Jeannette.
It's a verite film. So I live in Los Angeles, but we shot in Orlando and Puerto Rico. And the way that we kind of structured shoots was that Jeannette and I were in conversation in between shoots and knew what was happening. And then we'd come and we would shoot the whole time we were there. And so once we were starting to cut as we were shooting, the idea was to kind of structure the film in a way that is, as Jeannette said, authentic to her life, but that also still has this arc of healing to it, so that it is truthful and yet it's organized in a way that is, an artful story at the same time. So, of course, there are things that are left out, but I feel like the kind of important moments and the emotional moments and the milestones that she was going through are all in the film.
Yeah, you know what? Honestamente, al principio yo estuve bien nerviosa porque honestamente yo no quería ver a mi ex. I didn't. And believe it or not, it was so much anxiety because I knew what I was going through then during the movie. So I had a fear, and I expressed it to Maris because it was such a hard time in my life, super hard. So when she showed me the film, I was there, my heart is like, oh my gosh, and then I hear my voice. And then of course, I see my son. I get very emotional when it comes to my son. He is my everything. He's my world. I would do anything for him. So, as I started to see the story, there was some parts, like when I got into an argument with mommy, I'm like, oh my gosh, and because a part of me is like, I don't want people to see my mom differently, because this, after post, it brought me and mommy closer together. It really did. And I respect what my mom believes. I absolutely respect it. And I think that people are entitled to feel the way that they feel, as long as you're not closing and shutting people out. Does that make sense? So for me, the film, and once it finished, it was like, the first thing that I said to Maris is, I just really want this movie to inspire people. Truly to inspire that no matter what happens in life, you still keep fighting, you don't give up, because there's more things that's gonna happen in life. And it's more about not giving up. But people have an opportunity because they see me, they think, oh, I'm strong, but I'm very vulnerable. I'm a very vulnerable woman. I cry, I get sad, and sometimes I don't have anyone to fall back on. So I think that there's two aspects about, one is continuing to fight. And for those who are leaders out there, that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to find those that you can fall back on for your healing as well.
There was a beautiful moment after when Jeannette and I was in Orlando showing her the film, where Jeannette turned and she said, I can see how much I've grown through the film, and I'm really proud of myself. And to me, what a gift, right? What a gift to be in this process together, but also to be kind of sitting side by side and to have that be your first reaction.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. I can't necessarily say how would I have responded to a male director. You know, what it was for me and Maris, it was the connection. Because, here's the thing. I just saw a, white American woman who wants to be interested in my life. So regardless, whether she was a man or, what I think was really, really great is what Maris did is she made sure to have people who were part of the film, let's say the camera guy, somebody who's holding the mic. She made sure they were Puerto Rican, people of color, right? So, without me realizing, she made sure that I was going to be comfortable, right? So the whole thing about, now that you're saying that, it's actually making me feel even more proud because I never looked at having a female director and then me being a woman in this film. I never looked at that. But rather, I'm going to tell you, it makes me feel even much more confident to see two women from two different backgrounds, yet similar lives, be able to join together and create something that I'm hoping to not only be a positive inspiration to men, to women, but especially men. Why? Because the male figure is always known as being tough and, but vulnerability is one of the most beautiful things out there for men and women.
I think that there also is that the places where Jeannette and I are similar in our life experience does have to do with being women. And so that I think that it gave us access to each other, and it's not just me to her, but it's also Jeannette to me. And so I think that we were able to kind of live in this world and together in a way that was definitely informed by us both being women.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I want to tell people if you've gone through any and anything in life, anything, whether you lost somebody, whether you've been a part of something that's been on the news, whether you lost a loved one, whether you lost a partner, whether you lost a house, if you've gone through anything in life, and if you truly want to be inspired to continue to fight, watch the film. Watch it.
And I would add to that, because I think that would get me to the theater, hearing Jeannette say that, but I would add that in the last couple years that we've gone through a collective trauma, and that it's not the trauma of the film, but it's something that I think is on most people's minds right now. And this film isn't about sinking deeper into that. It's about learning an example of resilience and learning how to support each other so that we can be strong, connected, and moving forward.